It's been a year and a half since I got married, and today I just want to chat in this video about the top 3 things that I would change from my wedding and the top 3 things that I absolutely loved about my wedding. Now, I know no wedding is perfect. Even the people who say, oh, my wedding was perfect, when you start talking to them, they're like, oh, I wish I could have changed that, or I wish I could have changed this. And I think it's because at least I have idealized what my wedding should look like or could look like since a young age. So I just want to say, I know no wedding is perfect, and I'm so grateful for everyone who helped make my wedding day what it was. And I'm so thankful that I got to marry my husband, Nathan. So I just want to preface the video by saying that. I think one of the best things that happened at our wedding was actually the day before our wedding. We had a meal for all of our family, and this was such a great experience. We rented out a local small venue that was pretty inexpensive. We catered in some sandwiches from the grocery store. We had some fruit, some homemade cookies that a family member made, and all in all, it was a simple meal. But it was such a great experience because I was able to sit down and meet family members from my husband's side that I had never met before. And I was able to reconnect with some of my family that just lives so far away, and I only see them every once in a while. Unlike on the wedding day when you're running around and you're trying to do so much, this for us was completely relaxed, and we were just able to mingle without the stress of kind of having to fulfill obligations that we had to do on the wedding day with the reception. I recommend doing a dinner, a meal of some sort with family before your event. I've recommended this to a couple other people who've gotten married after me, and they said that it was such a great decision as well. So I really recommend this. This was such a highlight of our wedding. All right, here's the first thing I would change, and it is a pretty big one. I would change my wedding dress. Okay, sort of I would change my wedding dress. Here's what happened. I only really went wedding dress shopping at one shop. My mom came down to Atlanta, which is the area I live in, and we had 2 appointments for 2 different bridal shops. I went to the first bridal shop, I tried on several dresses, and I fell in love with the dress that I bought. And the style is great. The style is everything I dreamed of and better. The problem was that the store we were shopping at was a sample sale shop. So all of the dresses were pretty much in the same size, which is a sample size, and they were all too big for me. So we asked the person helping us, hey, is this gonna be an issue? Is this dress being this large going to cause the alterations to be expensive? And the person helping us was like, yeah, it's only probably gonna cost you about this much money, and it shouldn't be an issue at all. People take in dresses 2, 4 sizes all the time. And because I loved the dress, we were like, okay, the dress is in budget, the dress is the style that you want. She said the alterations won't be expensive or hard to do. So we bought the dress. And it turns out that the consultant was not telling the truth. I don't know if she was intentionally not telling the truth to make the sale, or if she really thought that the alterations would cost as little as she said. I went around to 3 or 4 alteration places, and the price that they all quoted me, all of them, was more than double what she said it was going to cost. Additionally, a couple places were like, this dress is so big on you that we're going to have to remove whole sections of the dress, and that's going to knock up the price even more and take more time. And it was just so incredibly stressful. So I had my wedding in North Carolina, which is where my parents live, and my mom knows an alteration person there. She's had several things altered there that were more like pants or smaller dresses, not a wedding dress. And so she asked some friends who also had used her, and they said, yeah, actually, we know someone who had their wedding dress altered with her. She does a great job. So we took the wedding dress. I went with my mom to the alteration place in North Carolina, and I tried on the wedding dress. She said it was no problem. She quoted us the price that the consultant said would be the price of alterations. So we were like, this is great. It's the right price. It's gonna get done in time. Awesome. The problem was that I live in the Atlanta area and the dress now is in North Carolina. So I go back up to North Carolina to do a fitting, and it was not great. So we knew that she was gonna have to change some things on the dress. It was still quite large, and there were a couple other problems with the dress. The problem is that the next time I would see the dress was the day before the wedding, because the seamstress alteration individual was not going to be in town the weekend of the wedding, which is incredibly stressful. So my mom was gonna pick up the dress, and then I was going to try it on at home the day before the wedding, basically the day before the wedding, and hope it fit. So I go home to North Carolina, a couple days before the wedding. I try on the dress. It doesn't fit. I was so scared. This dress was still too big. My mom, who is she does some sewing, but she's not a professional sewer, right? My mom had to go in by hand and sew the dress to try and make it fit better, right? And she did. Thank God the dress fit better. However, my mom told me after the wedding, she said, I was so scared that all the stitches on the dress were not super well done. And she said, I was so scared that the dress was going to literally fall apart during the wedding. Yeah, this is all true, right? Okay, so I wish I would have changed the dress. I think that I could have gone to the second bridal appointment, which was at David's Bridal, and found a similar dress, gotten it in a closer to my body size, and avoided a lot of stress, a lot of money, a lot of just so much by choosing a dress that fit me better from the start. I don't know if I would have found a dress that fit my vision as perfectly as the dress I got. And you might be saying, well, why didn't you just buy the dress not as a sample? And that's because the dress at full price was totally not in our price range. The sample dress was in the correct price range, and so it just made sense to buy it. Looking back, I would say and recommend to anyone, unless the sample size is fitting you already, do not buy a sample size dress or any dress that is not close to your size, because it's going to alter how the dress looks on you and it's going to cost a lot of money. Just don't do it. The second thing that I really loved from my wedding was poppers. If you're not familiar with what poppers or crackers are, it's basically like a tube that's wrapped in wrapping paper or tissue paper material that you pull with another person. It makes a small little boop, and there's prizes and a crown inside. A lot of our wedding guests had never participated in this tradition before, but this is one of my favorite traditions that we've been doing at Christmas time since I was a child, and it's such an important tradition to me. I don't know why, I just love it, and I try to incorporate it at least once a year into a holiday. And I really wanted my guests to be able to experience this with us. So I went to Williams-Sonoma after Easter. They had these beautiful crackers, and I purchased a ton of them, enough for the wedding. And I asked the lady, I said, hey, is this like, does it have Easter jokes inside of it? And she was like, oh no, it's like not related to the holiday at all. It was. Inside were jokes that were Easter related. But actually it didn't matter, because when we had all of our guests do the crackers / poppers at our wedding, it was just so fun. Everyone was laughing and smiling, and people put their crowns on, and I actually had the photographer tell me that this was one of the most unique things that she has seen at a wedding, and she absolutely loved it. So, and I also had a few guests tell me that this was their favorite part of the wedding / reception as well. So I would highly recommend having a personal touch of some sort, either at the wedding or the reception. And I'm not saying do crackers necessarily, but this was something that was important to me, and it was a lot of fun for everybody. So I would say try to find something like that. If you've never tried crackers / poppers before, I do also recommend just giving it a try at some holiday. Most of the time you can find them at Christmas at like Target, TJ Maxx, or World Market. So definitely recommend. The second thing that I would change about our wedding was the ceremony length. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, your ceremony was too long. No, no, no. Our ceremony was less than 30 minutes from when the first song happened to when everyone got dismissed. And that's what I wanted. I told everyone I want a short ceremony. I don't want people bored sitting in their seats. I've been to a couple weddings that just like dragged on, and I didn't want that, right? I wanted it short. That being said, I kind of regret that, because by making it so short, we took out anything kind of like personal to us. We did have a little bit of a sermon, but other than that, it really wasn't personalized to me or my husband. We didn't exchange written vows or anything. That was something we decided we didn't want to do. And we also told my husband's uncle, we were like, hey, thanks for offering to sing for us, but you know, we're trying to keep it short, so we're not gonna have you sing. I wish we would have said yes, because he sang at my brother-in-law's wedding a few months later, and it was such a nice personal touch. It was very emotional. Lots of people were crying. I was almost crying at their wedding, and I didn't even cry at my own wedding. So I think that would have been a perfect addition to the ceremony, and I wish we would have said yes when he offered to sing at our wedding. But I would recommend, like, make sure you have a personal element in your ceremony. I think that by adding that song, it wouldn't have lengthened the ceremony by more than 5 minutes. And I think our guests would have been fine with a 35-minute ceremony. So yeah, I do kind of regret the length of the ceremony. The third and final thing that I absolutely loved about my wedding, that is something I strongly recommend, is having a videographer. This isn't a unique suggestion, but I have heard a lot of people personally that I've spoken to that regret not having a videographer. It was very important to me. We rearranged the budget a little bit in order to afford a videographer, and I am so glad we did. Photos are great, but wedding videos add something. There's a little bit more emotion. They're able to capture certain moments better than photos can. And for me, this was such a big win, such a big thing. And I will explain even more why. after I tell you the third and final thing that I regret. But I do strongly recommend getting a videographer if possible. So this is the third and final thing I would change about my wedding. And I may or may not cry during this section. I'm a little bit hesitant to share this. And this is actually the reason why I didn't publish this video earlier, is because I was still, and kind of am still, processing this. I don't normally wear makeup. This is about how much makeup I wear, if I do wear makeup, and it's just mascara and lipstick. But I have consistently, for important events, had my mom growing up do my makeup, and I wanted to make sure for my wedding that I looked good, right? Like, everybody wants to look really good on their wedding. And I was particularly concerned about my hair. My hair can be curly one day, kind of straight the next day. It has a mind of its own. So I wanted to make sure that I had a stylist who was able to make my hair conform and stay for the wedding. So I found a hairstylist and makeup artist, same person, and we did a trial run for our engagement photo shoot. And it looked great. I felt really comfortable. It held up really great for the photo shoot. And so on the day of the wedding, we did the exact same style. At least it was supposed to be the exact same. I have had a couple people tell me that my engagement photos look different from my wedding photos and that my makeup looks a little heavier on my wedding day. And I wanted my makeup to look natural because I don't typically wear makeup. So when I do wear makeup, it's kind of like I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, who is that person? Like, that doesn't quite look like me because I'm just not used to wearing makeup. So on my wedding day, I'm already stressed and I'm like looking in the mirror and I'm like, okay, you look good. Like, you look good. You look a little bit different. Like, you don't look quite like yourself, but you look fine. So that was in like the morning/early afternoon. We then had photos with the wedding party, first look, and family, close family before the wedding. We then had our wedding and a mini reception, and then we had the actual reception. So during the reception, my husband and I, we got our food first, and we had a sweetheart table, so it's just the two of us, and we were eating our meal, and they had made an announcement like, hey guys, please let them eat first. They have to go around and greet people and do all this stuff, so just let them eat a bite. The only problem was that the sweetheart table was very close to where the buffet line was for the food. And so in order for people to get food, they basically had to walk right past us. And there was an individual who came up to the table while my husband and I were eating. And they came up and they said to me, "Do you like what they did to your face?" And I was so confused. I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And the person repeated themselves and they said, "Do you like what they did to your face?" I was like, "What?" And they're like, "How you look. Do you like what they did to your face and how they made you look?" And I just like kind of froze because I was like, do I look bad? Like, it's my wedding. Like, do I look bad? And so I responded to the person and I said, "No, I like how I look." But yeah, so I responded to the person and they were just like, "Oh, okay." And they left. Like, that was the end of the conversation. And I felt super self-conscious for the rest of the reception. And that was like right at the beginning. And those words kept replaying in my head so much. When I got back the photos, like the initial small batch of photos from the photographers, when I saw myself in the photos, all I could hear were those words, which I guess is maybe not a good reflection of myself, that maybe my self-esteem or self-confidence isn't that high. But when I saw the photos, I just kind of was like, do I look good or do I look bad? And I didn't know, because it didn't quite look like me, you know? And I don't have a problem with the way I look, but because it looked a little different than how I normally did, I just wasn't sure if I liked what was looking back at me. And literally, I didn't want to look at any wedding photos because I internalized what that person said and I hated how I looked. And that's why the video was so important, because when I got the video back, I saw myself smiling and I saw myself actually having a good time. And when I looked at those photos, it was just that moment replaying in my head. But when I saw the actual footage, the video of the wedding, I saw that no, my wedding was fun. I had a good time at my wedding and I looked fine. Like, I looked fine. And the video was such a game changer. But here's what I will say. I think what I should have done in that situation, because it immediately impacted me, it immediately made me start questioning, do I look okay? Is I should have grabbed some of my bridesmaids and taken them into the bridal suite and said, hey guys, like, this just happened. Like, do I look okay? Like, is something wrong? Is my makeup like messed up or anything? And if there had been a problem, I am confident that they would have been like, hey, yeah, I think like your makeup is smeared or something, and they would have fixed it. I don't think there was a problem, and I think that they would have just said like, no, you look fine, like you look really good. And I think having somebody vocalize like, hey, you look fine, like you look beautiful, it's your wedding day, you look amazing, I think that would have combated what that person said to me, and I think it would have changed my perspective of how I looked on my wedding day much sooner, and maybe even let me enjoy the rest of my reception a little bit more. So I think if you ever find yourself in a situation at your wedding where somebody says something hurtful, whether they mean to or not, that you find people who can surround you and tell you like, hey, no, like your dress looks good on you, your makeup looks fine, your hair is great. And like, that could even be your husband. I didn't even talk to my husband about it. I was just like literally in shock. Like, I didn't talk to anybody because I was like, did this just happen at my wedding? But looking back, I definitely should have talked to people, my bridesmaids, my mom, my husband. So yeah, I recommend if something like that happens to you, don't hesitate. Talk to somebody immediately who can help raise you back up. Okay, well, I guess I cried on the internet. It's been a few months, actually, I think it's been a couple years since I cried on the internet, but I hope that was helpful to you guys. And if you have any questions about wedding stuff that you might be planning, let me know down below. I'll try to answer them and be of help. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.